In a week's time, South Africa is going to hold its presidential elections, but there remains potential risk of cyber attacks, which may affect the electoral process as the country is preparing to elect its next president. In Benin, precarious calm after the clashes that broke out last Sunday during the legislative elections, and already 2 people are reported dead and several others wounded. Cyclone Fani hit India. More than 1 million people have been evacuated and several other people are reported dead in the state of Odisha. These are our top stories. Stay tuned for more details in this newscast. In Benin, while the Constitutional Court was giving the final results of the legislative elections on April 28th, the streets of Cotonou on Thursday evening were quiet following 2 days of tensions which took over the streets of the capital city of Benin. After these days of violence and hours of face-to-face confrontation, the police finally managed to dislodge hundreds of opponents in the center of Cotonou, unfortunately with automatic gunfire killing 2 people and injuring many others. A cabinet meeting was urgently held on Thursday in the afternoon. The Beninese government stressed out professionalism of the defense and security forces for maintaining public order. According to a statement by the government, the leaders of the movement clearly showcased their intention to attack the stability of the state. Amnesty International and many local associations of the civil society in Benin denounced the internet blocking and an alarming level of repression in the country. Thursday, the president of the Constitutional Court announced a participation rate of 27.1%, which is a bit higher than the 23% previously mentioned by the Electoral Commission in the preliminary results. He went on saying that though irregularities and disturbances were noted during the vote, however, they were not likely to compromise the validity and transparency of the ballot. A week before the next election in South Africa, even though the incumbent president Cyril Ramaphosa goes into this election as a favorite, the Electoral Commission fears the cyber attacks and also a scenario in the American style or in Nigeria where internet has become a means of disturbing or sabotage. For a year, the country has recorded a 22% increase in these attacks, a little over 13,000 hacks a day. In order to prevent these attacks before the election, the Electoral Commission would consider setting up a virtual platform to ensure the security of data on social networks. Some political parties claim that the highest risk of attacks would certainly be on the day of the results announcement in the centers. According to Commissioner Masuku, there is always the possibility of reproducing the results with ballot papers, an option which can help to dispel any suspicion of fraud. The officials have chosen to work hand in hand, both the police and the intelligence service, to avoid misinformation and the hacking of the results. In an interview with the German newspaper Die Welt, the Niger Interior Minister said his country has not benefited from German aid, while Niger has made enormous efforts to reduce the number of migrants to Europe. These words were uttered before the visit to Niger by the German Chancellor. Angela Merkel arrived in Niamey on Thursday at the end of a tour in the Sahel region. Niger is clearly disappointed with German and the European countries, especially concerning the funds in support to the fight against illegal migration. Mahamadou Issoufou, president of Niger, says the flow of migrants passing through Niger has melted. Speaking under the control of the Interior Minister, he says it is now about 5,000 today to 10,000 migrants a year. So the flow of migrants has been divided into 10. Thanks to the efforts that have been made. Germany and other countries in the European Union say they have made efforts. Angela Merkel praised Niger's effort in the fight against illegal migration, but there is still much to do. According to Angela Merkel, the fight against traffickers and smugglers requires jobs creation for the population of Niger. She said Germany has taken the first steps, launching German project, but still there is a need to expand it further in order to provide a perspective to citizens in the region. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who is doing a mini tour of the Sahel, did not fail to stress the importance of cooperation with Niamey to fight against migration, of which Niger is a hub. Celebrated today worldwide, the World Press Freedom Day is also an opportunity for Reporters Sans Frontières to provide an update on freedom in each country and the ranking in which European countries are in the limelight while African countries are in the middle of this ranking. World Press Freedom Day was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in 1993 on the recommendations of the 26th session of the General Conference of UNESCO in 1991. It celebrates the fundamental principles of press freedom, which are to assess press freedom throughout the world, to defend the media's independence, and to pay tribute to journalists who lost their lives working for media. Media relations and democracy at the heart of the World Conference organized from May 1st until May 3rd in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia by UNESCO. It is also an opportunity to provide an update of the index of press freedom per country according to Reporters Sans Frontières. In the first part of a ranking which counts less than 200 countries, there are Norway, Finland, Sweden, the Netherlands, Denmark, Switzerland, the New Zealand, Jamaica, Belgium, and Costa Rica. The leading African countries in this ranking are Namibia, Cape Verde, and Ghana, respectively, at 23rd, 25th, and 27th place. Gabon, meanwhile, is ranked 115th and occupies one of the first places in the sub-region of Central Africa. In the bottom of the list, we can find Laos, Saudi Arabia, Djibouti, Syria, Sudan, Vietnam, China, Eritrea, North Korea, and the one closing this list is Turkmenistan, ranked 180th. In a week's time, South Africa is going to hold its presidential elections, but there remains potential risk of cyber attacks, which may affect the electoral process as the country is preparing to elect its next president. In Benin, precarious calm after the clashes that broke out last Sunday during the legislative elections, and already 2 people are reported dead and several others wounded. Cyclone Fani hit India. More than 1 million people have been evacuated and several other people are reported dead in the states of Odisha. That's all for our newscast today. Stay tuned on Gabon 24 for more news.